Hello everyone, this is Aegis, and it's been a while. I guess some of you probably think that I've just quit, but not exactly. I just gonna be posting quite a few less games, and today, as usual, when I go look for my replays, I went to Gosu Gamers, picked one of the top replays from recent, and it's gonna be a game from the Zotac Cup. It's gonna be a FXOasd versus TSLPolt, and this game is on Entombed Valley. So the two players are spawning in cross positions. I'm not sure if it's Zotac Cup rules that they've been forced to spawn this way, or if it's going to be just because of chance. So we'll see by the way these two players scout. We'll see exactly what's going on. ASD is going to be throwing down his pylon in his base and resuming mining. So either he already knows where his opponent is because the rules say that he's going to be there, or he's just going to delay his scout in order to get a few more minerals, get that probe mining for just a little bit longer. And ASD, he's probably going to be going for a 13 gateway. He does have that 13th probe queued up already. And there's his first probe out. He's going to be throwing down that gateway and is going to be scouting to the front. We'll see which way he's going to be scouting next. And over here on the other side, TSLPolt is throwing up his first barracks up at the front. And he's going to be going for his orbital command shortly. We'll see if he decides to go for gas. Then the gas will indicate if he's going to be teching a little bit before taking an expansion, or if he does not get a gas, it will be a relatively fast expansion. There's the probe headed towards the north side, so it does look like these two players have spawned by chance in cross positions, and that does give a chance for a pretty long macro game. On this map, it is relatively easy to take 3 bases. All you have to do is knock down these destructible rocks, and your third base is in a very nice position, easy to defend. Also, a ramp coming up from the third base, and likewise, if these rocks get knocked down early, there could be some aggression coming up two sides of this natural expansion. It does look like Pult will throw down his natural expansion up right there. The probe does scoot in here. He will see that there's no gas on the way. The first Marine is also out. He will definitely clean up this one probe here. The probe trying to get away from that Marine, trying to juke around the command center. Looks like the probe will be able to swing back around, but Pult throwing up another supply depot will block the probe in. And ASD will be relegated to scouting around inside of this base for as long as he can survive. And there's a probe scooting into the corner, trying to hide away, does get killed off. And ASD, as of this point, does know that Pult is going for that expansion. And Pult so far knows nothing, and if he gets his SCV picked off, he won't know anything, but it does look like the Zella is just a little bit too slow, and the Stalker not quite in time to poke in here to see exactly what's going on, or not in time to kill off that SCV before it gets to poke in here and see what's going on. Does look like ASD will respond with an expansion of his own. No probes being pulled from the gas, so we'll see exactly what's coming up soon. There's another Stalker actually being chrono boosted, and all of ASD's units are running across the map. We'll see if he's going to be able to do any amount of damage here, and it looks like he will not be able to. There is a bunker in place already, and Pult throwing down the first mule at his natural expansion. I mean, another mule at his natural expansion, and there's the bunker going to be deterring the Stalker and Zealot from being able to come up here, and the natural expansion does come up for ASD. Now taking a second gas, he will likely go for a robotics facility and try to head towards Colossus Tech. Over here, the Zella at the center watchtower, and Pult back at home, happily mining off of his 2 bases as well as 2 gas, getting his first tech lab up, and Stimpack immediately started on that tech lab once it finished. Very nicely timed by Pult as of this moment. And a few more Marines will be hitting the field. ASD is guarding his Nexus back at home. It is about to finish, and ASD is going to be throwing down his robotics facility. There it is coming up, as well as 2 additional gateways. More chrono boosts going down for the probes, going to make sure he does have a nice healthy worker count in order to transfer over to that natural expansion. And as of this point, ASD has a few options in his hands. He can go for a hefty 2 or 3 immortal push, or perhaps go for a little bit of a late game, and it does look like he's going to be taking that third gas, and I really do think because that he took that third gas, we will be seeing Colossus Tech shortly, another sentry warping in just in case. And ASD does have center vision right now, so he will be able to see exactly when the bio units begin moving out. The factory is about to finish for Polt, and he's also got a very well-timed reactor to be able to swap over for a starport, actually to build a starport directly on it if he should choose to do so. But I do believe Polt will be going for a little bit more of those Marines being produced. Marauders are also hitting the field. Natural expansion does have one additional gas on the way. A forge coming up for ASD, so he will be getting some upgrades before getting that Colossus tech out. Actually, 2 forges on the way. And there's another pylon, making sure that he doesn't get too supply blocked, as he is about to. There's the forge, and generally Protoss players like to get the +1 armor first against Terran players. It does make those Zealots so much more powerful against these bio units. First Immortals also on the way. And there's the starport coming up for Polt, and he will be swapping over for a tech lab. This is a very interesting build here. Actually, no, it looks like a multi-swap over here. The starport going where it should be. There's the 2 medevacs on the way, and the 1 observer headed into Polt's main to see exactly what's going on. And as of this point, these 2 players have several different options here, and could include doing some pushing and possibly taking a 3rd base. Polt here is throwing up 2 additional barracks, so he could use these to do a nice strong push at the front as soon as those medevacs pop out, which I do believe he is about to do. He has the Marauders headed into the center of the field already, and he is not taking down those rocks, so he will be headed for this very strong push at the front of ASD. And ASD here does have 1 cannon, but mostly sentries right now. Their 1 Zealot is retreating back home. Concussive Shell will be finished as soon as this attack begins, so Polt is going to be hitting a very nice window here, and ASD will have to throw down perfect force fields in order to stop this attack from coming up his ramp. And Polt also has the capacity to do some dropping, and there's a scan killing off that observer, so ASD will not know if there's a drop coming in through the side. And another scan up at the top of the ramp, force fields across the bottom. The scan is allowing him to see the top of the ramp. Going to be picking off one of those crucial sentries that is going to help ASD to hold this ramp. Polt also bringing his factory up to the front, a couple of stalkers up, and there's the 2 Immortals coming forward. He needs to make sure that he doesn't get those units caught down at the bottom of the ramp. The force fields go down, a couple of Marines making it up the ramp, but not quite enough to push up here just yet. More stalkers and Zealots being warped in, and it does look like ASD has enough to hold this push now. Polt does move one of the medevacs somewhere. Did he lose a medevac? Well, there we go. There's more medevacs over here. Maybe ASD sniped one that I didn't notice. And over here, back inside of ASD's base, he is getting the blink upgrade. This is a defensive upgrade in this case. He's going to need that to be able to pick off any sort of triple medevac drop, which Polt could go for. Another scan going down. He's going to stim forward and kill off one of these cannons. Force fields going down, but not quite enough to seal off the Terran army inside of the base. So that will prevent Polt from losing his entire army, actually. So there's the +2 and +2 armor, +2 ground weapons on the way. And it does look like ASD is ready to push out. No, not quite. He's going to try to take a couple of shots at that factory. Polt continuing to rally forces up to the front, now up to 5 medevacs. This does give the Terran ball quite an edge, especially if he has a nice concave at the bottom of the ramp. Force fields going down, going to be able to pick off a couple of these units. The factory continuing to take some damage from the stalkers, also baiting some fire. It is now burning down. A couple of Marines running up to the front, not too sure what those guys are doing. It looks like the factory will fall. Stim running forward. Careful to be able to not get that army cut off by those force fields. Very tense moment for both players, but TSLPolt doing the correct thing, taking a 3rd base back at home. This will give him a very nice late game advantage. A probe trying to sneak out over here does quickly get killed off. Polt continuing to rally forces across the map, and it does look like ASD is ready to break those rocks down. And there's the units stimming forward, trying to pick off a couple of these units here. And force fields trying to go down once again. ASD in a very tense situation. The force field stacking up just a little bit. +2 ground weapons about to finish up, as well as the +1 ground armor finishing up for ASD. And Polt is going to be behind on these upgrades for a little while, and it does look like the stim going down once again, draining the medevac energy. And ASD continuing to hold the top of his ramp, but he's going to need to push out and do some damage during his upgrade advantage time, since Polt is securing a very nice late game advantage, especially all of these mules falling down at the expansion over here. And it looks like Polt is going to continue to push over here. Polt taking a supply lead as well, while keeping up this pressure. More and more units just streaming across the map. And there's the Guardian Shield and Force Fields cutting the army in half. FXOasd ASD trying to bust out here. Are the Immortals enough? Looks like Polt's army is dwindling. He's going to need to pull back a little if ASD continues to push out like this. The Stalkers blink out. Going to be able to take down a couple of these medevacs here. And Polt is now in full retreat. He's got to pull everything back. Another blink forward. The stim by the Marine Marauder Ball, or actually mostly Marauder Ball now, is going to be able to take out a couple of those Stalkers, but another blink forward could take down a couple of these medevacs, but he does not want to blink into that line of sight blocker. That he does have the one observer continuing to guard the air here, and ASD knows he needs to do some damage now. Another pylon going to be thrown down over here. But however, his window to attack is quickly being closed. The 2 upgrades +1, +2 for the Marine Marauder Ball is quickly finishing up, and Polt is giving himself a very nice advantage. He's even going to kill off these destructible rocks to give his SCVs a little bit better of a path to that third base. And it looks like ASD is sending more and more units across the map, continuing to make those Immortals. This does signify that he's going to make a really big, perhaps, push to end this game right now. We'll see if Polt is able to hold this, and if he does hold this, there's just be too good of an advantage economically for Polt into the late game. And it does look like the Marine Marauder Ball with the +2/+2 is going to be a little bit too much for this non-charge lot army. More Zealots being warped in, as well as the Immortals continuing to do some damage. They do have 13, 14 kills, 3 kills on this new fresh one, but it's looking more and more like it's not quite enough to beat back TSLPolt. GG out of ASD, and this game does go to TSLPolt. Very nicely played by both players. ASD just couldn't take his expansion early enough because of that huge pressure up at the front, and Polt just taking the game with a nice, strong economic lead by throwing down the third base early. I hope you enjoyed that cast. Stay tuned. Going to be seeing some more stuff as the summer goes on. Hopefully I'll be able to post a little bit more often than I have been. Maybe a few more games a week. Maybe not a game a day as I did during spring break, but a little bit more than a game a month. So I'll see you guys soon.